Hi, I'm Keegan, and this is a bunch of gamers. This is my initial thoughts on They Came from Beneath the Sea. I'm going to be kind of freeform. Just these are my initial thoughts on the book that I've read. It's not a real review because I haven't actually run a session of the game, but I can go through and explain what grabbed me, what I found interesting, and if this game might be for you. They Came from Beneath the Sea is published by Onyx Path. You can see all the writers down here. I'm not going to say them to save myself from butchering well over half their names. They Came from Beneath the Sea uses the story path system and is set in the 1950s using tropes of B movies and things like that. And I love horrible films. Velocipaster is on my to-watch list. So this game really caught my eye. So this is my backer copy. So some of the things in here I know for a fact will not be in the final product. It will remind several people of the old World of Darkness books because I saw a lot of see page XX, but I'm fairly confident that will be resolved. So going through, we can see really silly artwork, as well as chapter stories. My favorite one is actually the next one under Archetypes, because you go through introductions, what is role-playing, is it comedy or horror? I'm going to say it's comedy, even though the book would disagree with me. I don't think there's any way I could run this game with a straight face. You got your standard inspirations. You can look up some of these on YouTube. Some of the clips are actually pretty fantastic. So, and this is the story I found the most humorous, the I was a teenage shrimp. So, archetypes are similar to classes in They Came from Beneath the Sea. So, you go through, you see, you got your everyman, the G-Man, which is kind of like your cop, secret agent, your plucky journalist, and things like that, being the mouth, scientists, being the 1950s, they're probably of the German variety, the crazed survivor, who, always see. And so each of those archetypes actually come with a quib, some quibs, which are special phrases that give you abilities, and they come with tropes. And if you do something within line of these tropes, then you can do some dramatic editing and actually help change up the scene. Character creation is kind of standard. I actually had some trouble. I found that some parts were a little muddled for me. I felt that the skills in particular weren't very well laid out. I had to read it a couple times to get it. And what it is you with all story path games, you select 3 paths, and these paths are your origin, which is basically your backstory, your archetype, and your ambition. And they come with a set of skills. So you do that, and you select 4 skills for each path, and then you have 3 skills associated with that, and that's all it is. But I don't know, how it was written didn't really click. And one thing that's missing from here that I really wish was in here was like a summary page, something real quick for me to just go back and look, double check all the steps, things like that. The Kickstarter did come with a character sheet. I would have loved it if it was editable, but you know, I can just do it by pen and paper as needed. So, excuse me. You set up contacts, all this kind of stuff. If you're familiar with Onyx Path's Scion or Trinity Aeon, a lot of this is going to be familiar, but they've done some things to streamline this game in a way I actually really enjoy and actually liked more. The only one that I find kind of interesting, though, is leveling up paths and how good that is. That gives you a lot. Excuse me, I've been a little sick today, and it's starting to show. So, skills, attributes, it shows all that stuff. This is nothing new for any D10 system. It's exactly what you expect it to be, right? So, I do like the art, though. One of the things I really like about this game, actually, is how conversational it is. It's very almost Terry Pratchett-like in how conversational it is to get you to learn the game, and that really clicked with me, and I really liked it. So, game's basic system: roll a pool of dice, all that, and the story path is very similar to the storyteller and the storyteller systems found in World of Darkness and Chronicles of Darkness. It's a set limit, 8 or higher, all that. Excuse me. The difference is complications. I actually like complications in theory, and I actually they kind of rubbed me the wrong way in Scion, or I should say Trinity, when I ran that, mostly in combat situations, but complications are basically ways to make it so that your players succeed, but something worse happens, and it's similar to those charts in older games where it was success by degrees, if you're familiar with Chronicles of Darkness, where 1 is the bare minimum and 5 is they succeed expertly. In this case, you can put in a bunch of complications of additional things happening to them that they don't that they have to overcome with additional successes. They've added in stunts, which I really like. They give you stunts are allow you to make complications for others. They allow you to enhance yourself, and it's basically how you spend your extra successes. Combat, I actually really like. Combat's very straightforward. It's if you have a weapon, that's how you're attacking. If you have a firearm, you're using the firearm skill. If you are, well, anyway, if you're going close combat, you roll in close combat, and basically weapons just give you a bonus on your roll. Real simple. Well, a bonus in that if you get 1 success, whatever that bonus is, that's how many automatic successes you get in addition. Oh, aim. Aim, of course. I'm just blind. So, and that's the basics of it. And then you can do extra combat stunts to mess with them, disarm them, blind them, increase your damage, so on and so forth. And much like other games, you roll to soak that damage, and you roll to soak the damage, and you can either choose to soak it all, or roll to soak, or you can take it. And what that means is if you choose to take it, let's go down to here on the character sheet, you'll see that there's 3 health levels for each damage rating. And what that means is, like let's say you have 2 filled out of damage at just a flesh wound. You could try and soak up all the damage. If they only did 1 damage to you, that might be best. But let's say they rolled 8 damage, you can say, well, I'm going to take it, and you take it like a badass, basically. And then it just fills up this, you're done, and now you're in, that'll leave a scar, and now you're in these health tracks instead of attempting to roll. And so you balance it out through those decisions in combat. What I also like here is, let's see if I can find it, is when you take damage, damage doesn't cause necessarily a death spiral. What I mean by that is damage, you get bonuses as you get more hurt. So you get bonuses to your archetype skills and die pools. If you get injured enough, then the difficulty is 7 and up instead of 8 and up to really help you basically get stronger, or I guess to get out of that situation. And then finally you have your cinematic powers, which you use with your quibs, and you get your cinematics. And your cinematics allow you to do quick editing of scenes, and so you can have like a stuntman show up, and that stuntman will show up, and they're better at you than you, and in most physical attributes, and they're able to jump things. But as soon as you talk, or it has to go back to focusing to your character in some way other than that stunt, then you're back to normal. There's things like missing reels and things like that, and you pick your quibs from a list based on your archetype. And so, you gotta work in, I'll make my final move if it's the last thing I do, sort of cheesiness. And I just really enjoy that. And I just love the aesthetic of this whole book, being as just overly cheesy right down to the language of it. So, and then there you go, bad dubbing, where you can make what the aliens or monsters say, things like that. And then here we go, the human world invaded. This is basically the world of They Came From Beneath the Sea. Just wacky things. I believe there's Robo-Zombie Stalin. Alright. And various other bizarre 1950s-esque, like, weird world stuff, right? And then finally you got your threats, and your threats are divided up into destroyers, which are more combat heavy, Robo Sharks, the Shark Clan, Teenage Shrimps, so on and so forth. And then you have your enslavers, who kind of control the mind, try and turn people into their slaves. The Iguananoid is probably a good old play on the Serpent Men in all that those old pulp novels. Invaders, creatures from beyond, crab people, of course. Can't have a sea game without crab people. Prefecture of the Pod might be up there in new favorite monsters, though. And so on and so forth. Then finally, you got your chapter about basically being a storyteller, director in this game, or is the special name they gave it. And then you got your quibs, you've got your stunts. Right now the backer copy does not have an index, but I suspect that's because that will be added in later. So, despite the praise, there's some problems. As I said, the biggest one really for me is the character creation chapter. It just, while the conversational language helps in places, it just doesn't read in a way that it clicks for me immediately for what skill or what I need to make a character quickly and relatively painlessly. And I really wish there was a summary there. Complications, depending on the context, they give you great example complications in this one versus some of the other story path games, in combat especially, so I'm not that quick on occasion, so trying to come up with complications as players give them to antagonists or vice versa can be difficult for me, so that doesn't click. But the 1-to-1 damage increase that's in this really is a nice counterbalance to some of the other story path games, in my opinion. So, who is this game for? Oh well, this game is for people who want to do something a bit more lighthearted, something that's a nice blend of cheesy horror and action. I couldn't foresee myself doing a really long campaign of They Came From Beneath the Sea, but I could definitely see myself doing several smaller games, or maybe a rotating game, like maybe not enough people showed up at my regular game, so we just pull out the same characters from They Came From Beneath the Sea and continue that slightly more episodically. Be great for one-shots, especially, and there is a part in the skills section in character creation that does make that a little easier, since paths don't matter that much if it's a one-shot, right? But yeah, no, I like this game, and it's a good kind of party game, I think, more so than anything else. Definitely more of the social aspect of role playing if I was to run it, and jokes around the table than playing it straight, serious role playing. This game doesn't really have to be 1950s. It gives you enough to where you could emulate really any cheesy genre if you so chose. You just make your own monsters. You can create your own scene changes that fit the tropes of the genre of cheesy horror that you're looking for. So I do recommend this game. I would say this game is a solid 8 out of 10. Very fun, very interesting looking. It is a game that I look forward to running with my players, and I'll probably do a one-shot of this, not in the near future, but certainly in a couple months, and that'll probably go up on the channel as well. So, yeah, I recommend it, and actually the game is currently still, as of recording, on BackerKit. I'll try and put a link in the description box below for anyone who's interested after watching this review. Anyway, that's my first review, and I hope you all liked it. Like and comment if you enjoyed hearing my nasally-ass sick voice talking about games and just shooting from the hip. Alright, bye.